Faraz Shauketaly.
And top of the morning to you. This is Newsline, live as always from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And unfortunately, sometimes it rains, and today it's rained. And so the day is not as marvelous as it could be, but then, you know, Sri Lanka is a diverse country and it has rained. It's a bit wet, so do be careful when you're out there. But this morning I'm joined by the former Secretary of the Presidential Commission looking into serious fraud, allegations of fraud and corruption, Pressifac it was called. And yes, it's so much ago in the past, it seems, such a long time ago. And he's right here, the Secretary, the former Secretary of that Commission, Mr. Lacille de Silva. Very good morning to you, Lacille.
Morning, Faraz.
And of course, it's beautiful, lovely to see you here.
Yes, thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here too after a long time.
After a long time, you took the words right out. Now, Lacille, you were the former Secretary of this Presidential Commission of Inquiry into allegations, serious fraud and corruption. Pressifac.
That's correct. Yeah.
What has happened? Everyone seems to have forgotten Pressifac. What's happened?
Let me say, actually, investigations into corruption, I believe it's a backroom story right now. There's nothing happening in, virtually.
In the forefront, there's nothing.
In the forefront. I must say it was a job done very well by the Commission and even other institutions like the Lukshikram Singh. But at the moment, it's all just...
But what's happened? The Commission's finished. A voluminous report, I saw that in my fellow director's room. It's that big.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It was a number of reports, I would say. I think we started in March. Let me just briefly mention all about that. We started in March, and that was 2015. And I had to go home early, say March again, 28th of 2016. Till then, we had done such a good job, but I know, unfortunately, all that had to be stopped because it was very careful and crafty manipulation, I would say. And that was a job well done to stop corruption in the public sector, though they had given such a lot of pledges, like elimination of corruption, and on the top of that, say like rule of law, good governance, right? All that, I would say.
But Lacille, I'm concerned because so much of time and effort and energy has been spent on Pressifac, and so many, it was virtually a circus. People came and they went and they questioned, and all sorts of legal manipulations were used, legal devices, and so on. But in any event, it was done. But now what? Where is the prosecutions based on that? Is this just only to rake up old stories, to look at the old wounds?
No.
What is it?
No, I think they were genuinely interested. I would say because it was a commission appointed by the President. And I think the President was definitely concerned. He was very much interested in...
There's no doubt about that. But my concern now is that long time after, where is the prosecutions? Where is the delivery? Where is the commitment? Is there a commitment?
I don't think there's a commitment because unfortunate situation is, this is an assemblage of, I'm sorry to use the word, right, altogether, an assemblage of, can I use the word, rogues?
Well, yes, it would be a fair description.
Right, so unfortunately that's the situation, starting. I don't think to that extent the President was involved because...
So where can we place the blame? Because the buck has to stop somewhere. Where does the buck stop?
I believe start from the Prime Minister.
From the Prime Minister?
Downwards, yeah.
Is he just an easy target, or do you seriously believe that it stops with the Prime Minister?
It has to be ultimately, he had been named, or there's a finger pointed at him that he is responsible. Now, talk about bond scam, right? Actually, he brought Arjun Mahendran, and then he planted him there. He protected him, and he wanted to sort of push that issue under the carpet. All that happened. Eventually he left the country, and he said, Prime Minister said again that he'll be brought back. He has not been brought back, so it's a case of ultimately the whole thing should, the blame goes to the Prime Minister.
And in a democratic country, you must take the blame.
He should take the blame. Unfortunate situation again, right?
Yeah.
Since there's no commitment to enforce rule of law, it does not happen the way we want, the way they have pledged eventually.
Yeah. Now then, this whole business, since, if you ask me to get to the heart of the problem, right from the beginning, and the beginning was those heady and wonderful days of January 2015, when the whole country was so much looking forward to good governance, and we were proud because we'd left behind our troubles in terms of wars and all that, and we were looking forward to a new Sri Lanka.
Correct.
Where it was a level playing field for everyone.
Everybody.
Not only was the country has always been beautiful, but it would have been even more beautiful to be able to live in this wonderful country with good governance and democracy. And we have been let down big time.
You're right.
And this is all to do with a conflict of interest, a departure from due process, and these two items have been the hallmark of this government. Do you agree?
Yeah, I totally agree. Unfortunately, let me say it this way, having given all the pledges to establish good governance, to take the country on the right track, give a lot of hope, having given a lot of hopes to the people, it was not delivered, and unfortunately all the false promises now causing a lot of problems to the ruling party. It was proved at the last local government elections. They are having a hard time, having failed to deliver the promises.
And that is the heart of the matter.
That is the heart of the matter.
But the people are absolutely fed up. Yesterday, around 2-3 o'clock, it was announced that there was going to be a sudden strike. People are at work. Can you imagine what was going through their minds? How were they going to get home? There would have been people who've come even for the day. Maybe they went to the hospital for treatment and so on and so forth. And now they're in the city and they needed to get back home. And there's a strike. And is it little wonder that the people turned against these strikers? Yeah. Because it's the inconvenience. And I hope to play the footage from yesterday in front of the railway station at Fort.
A government must mean business. Actually, government has to deliver the services the people expect, and all that again was promised. It is unfortunate that the public sector has crumpled down. In my own analysis, let me say it this way, it is again the system has crumpled, not only because of inefficiency, it is because none of the ministers, none are doing their job properly right now. That is the sad state of affairs.
And that is indeed the sad state of affairs, because when the people at the top misbehave and they display a completely unethical disregard for the people's aspirations and the people's needs, then it filters down, the filth filters down. And no wonder you have such rogue unions like the GMOA, the CB, and now the railway unions, causing inconvenience. Who gave them the right to inconvenience the public?
Nobody has given the right. What I personally think is, as you very rightly said, actually it has come down from the top. Now, if the top is ethical, morally correct, and if they can rule the country to the best of their ability without causing, now see, if you go back, right, all what has happened right now is because there is no order in the system. There is no law in the country.
So the rule of law is not implemented?
It is not implemented, and at the same time, when you really frustrate everybody, if there is frustration all over, when it comes to the people, when it comes to the public servant, everybody is frustrated because they have not gone into anything in the right way to solve any of these problems. That is the biggest problem.
But the rule of law is not being implemented. Why?
Yeah, the rule of law has to be implemented from the top, and as you very rightly said, it has to be, from my point of view, they should set the example, right? Rulers must set the example. If you set the example, now look at this. Unfortunately, I just can't imagine. Look at the parliament. If you go to parliament, you will see all kinds of disruptions. They come to the well of the house, they create all the problems, right? That's the kind of standards they maintain. So naturally, when there's problems starting from parliament downwards, everywhere, there are problems. Unfortunately, the rulers have to set the example, they have to talk to people, they have to discuss, they have to give solutions.
They do. They talk to contractors who are waiting to get the tender.
Yeah.
As in the case of the Central Expressway.
That's
and
correct.
yes, Mr. Lakshman Kiriya, I do mean you. You did break the rules. There was a departure from due process.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct.
But isn't that because the rulers are corrupt?
Not only rulers are corrupt, you know, when you run governance, there are certain things that you have to adhere to. You have to honor rule of law. You have to, you know, say, let me say it this way, you have to improve day by day. You have to fall in line with the, let's say customer centric. You have to run a good government. You have to deliver, you know, I mean, institutions and empower the institutions to the best of your ability, and nothing is virtually happening.
Now, you were in Parliament. I mean, you were there in the admin side, the background, if you like. Can I ask you this? This is a viewer is asking this question.
Yeah.
If the buck stops with the Prime Minister, is there grounds for impeachment? Can we impeach the Prime Minister or not?
Actually, more than the impeachment, unfortunately, if there is rule of law, I believe things will take its own course. For that matter, if the President can stamp his foot and say, okay, the law must take its own course and you know, deal with the perpetrators, because unfortunately when the law is not enforced, this is eventually what happens.
And you know, what you've just said has made me cast my mind to what is happening at Sri Lanka cricket.
Yeah, correct.
We have a President's Council who's been given the responsibility of being the Minister of Sport.
Right.
And our national religion, cricket, is at huge risk.
Yeah, definitely.
And as a lawyer, he must understand the problem. And the problem is that there are 146 votes that control Sri Lanka cricket in a country of, what, 21 million people? 22, let's say. India has got 1.2 billion with a B, 1.2 billion people. They control their cricket with 40.
That's correct.
And their Supreme Court wants them to bring it down to 30.
That's correct.
And Mr. Mustafa doesn't pay any attention. He's acting on his own.
You can't. You have to go by the requirements. Now, let me say it this way. Now, in our country, we have 225 members of parliament.
Yeah.
Such a huge country like Australia, you have only 150, right? In India, 545.
Right.
So similarly, everything they have politicized with the ulterior motive for them to be in power, whether it is cricket, whether it is anything else.
But that's not all, isn't it? It's not only the 225 parliamentarians. We've now got 8,000 something, 8,000 odd local council members.
Yeah, now on top of that, right, you have provincial councils again in parliament. If you had devolved powers, I believe the system needs to be totally reviewed.
Reviewed or changed? Now, I want to ask you this question. Actually, another viewer is asking this. Is asking why was it that you were arbitrarily removed from being the Secretary of the Presidential Commission, and who was responsible for that decision?
That's a good question. Let me tell the story now. Unfortunately, that was unexpected totally, because we were doing a very good job. The commission, I would say even the commissioners did a fantastic job. Within 1 year, we had done about 90% of the job.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was the Prime Minister who, he came on TV and he said, right, the public sector was crumbling down since the public officers were being brought to commissions and all that.
Right.
Then in about the same time, media asked me whether it is true. Why are you all bringing public officers to the commissions? I said it can't be true that way, because not every single officer is being brought before the commissions. It was basically because the corrupt officers had to be brought before commissions, right?
Yeah.
And when the corrupt officers came before the commissions, right, naturally they were brought there because there were cases and there were fingers pointed at them. Unfortunately, Prime Minister said that he will take it up with the President and resolve the issue. I believe that was a bit of a manipulation he had done probably. All that happened, ultimately the investigations to corruption, slowly and naturally, it died down.
Manipulator. Right.
So this is how it
Here
happened.
you go, another one, and this is a marvelous question, or a statement even. What we have are not rulers. They are outlaws who have hijacked the government.
That's 100% agreeable. It's 100% correct. Unfortunately...
So these are like those Somali pirates who boarded the ship.
Yeah, that's correct. Because if the rulers, unfortunately, are not ethical, moral, right? If they are a band of, as he had said very correctly, outlaws, unfortunately there will be no rule of law in the country. So this is the change that we really seek. There should be people who are ethically and morally fit to run a government, ethical government.
But how far are we away from seriously getting an ethical government? A government committed to the people, because after all they are by the people and for the people.
Yes, and so far people trusted every single government in power. They were voted in, and when they did not deliver, they were voted out, right? Now, they know the story for the last, let me say, I shouldn't say 70 years, but since, say, from 70s, unfortunately, they have not delivered the promises. They have only been concentrating to sort of strengthen the government in power. Unfortunately, they have created this present situation owing to all that.
Right.
So, I don't think people would trust any of the politicians now. There's a demand from the people that there should be some new group of people who should come forward. I think there's a move underway.
What is your observation? Do you see that there is a possibility of some new force?
I have a feeling there'll be a new group of people who might come forward, because they are genuinely concerned about the grievances that the people go through.
But are they,
and I'm myself a person who have been victimized in so many ways, having done a good job, honest job always. As you know, Bandula always said, right? I had to go to Supreme Court to win my case. Having done the right thing, luckily, I was one of the people who came out of the mess, which was created to me, having done no fault. So similarly, we are there together, building up a cause that there should be a new group of people who should come forward in 2020. And I think we will work hard towards that.
And that is the sad fate, that we have wasted our time. The people have been let down and been stuck for the last 5 years doing absolutely jack.
Actually, even the present government gave a lot of pledges, promises. None of them have been delivered, right? So it has come to a situation, I don't think all 2-3 major parties have been in power. I would say major parties, because for all purposes, the 2 major parties we'll say. Next, I don't think people can trust all of them. It has to be altogether a new group of people. Now this is the wave that is taking place internationally, globally.
Now, Lacille, you are obviously top of the pops this morning, because then I'm glad that this program is being watched as far away as Gaul, because I think this viewer is from Gaul. I'll read out just the question. During the last local government election, there was an independent group that contested in Gaul. This group was saying that it is Lacille de Silva who is their boss and main sponsor. What is your involvement here? Are you coming into politics?
No, I'm not definitely coming into politics.
How true is this thing?
Yeah, this is true. But I was in Australia during that period.
Okay.
Anyway, people.
So you were manipulating from Australia?
To a great extent, I supported, right? Fortunately, I was able to unite
Thank God for Skype.
A lot of, yes, thank God for Skype. I was able to unite a group of Australians too, and even from other countries, to give these boys the support. Luckily, they have won 2 seats in Balapitiya, you know. So
I see.
Fortunately,
there is. At least you're also playing some role somewhere.
We have to do that. We have to play that role basically for the benefit of the people and the country.
Right. And what about that last question of that statement? Are you coming into politics?
No, I am not really keen in coming into politics, but I am committed to do everything possible.
Why is politics putting you off?
Unfortunately, none of my family members want me to get into politics. This is not purely.
You can get a permit. You can get a smart new car.
No.
Unlimited petrol.
You know, this is where the people have gone wrong. Politicians are ultimately greedy for all that.
I want to tell you that if in the event that you do come to politics, that you must remember not to underestimate the power of the people.
Definitely.
And if you watch this clip from yesterday, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The power of the people.
මම ධම්මරුචිර ආඳුර අම්බලන්ගොඩ මම කියන්නේ මේ බලධාරීන්ට ඒවා මෙතන බලධාරියන් නෑ මෙතන.
Now let's see. We can hear what they're saying and we can see what they're doing. And this is the frustration. People are being inconvenienced, and these unions think that it's their right. It's almost like that other sort of colleague of yours, the former presidential secretary, Austin Fernando. What gave him the right to archive that blessed report?
You know, this is totally wrong. In my view, I have served so long in Parliament, right? They have even let down the Parliament, deceived the Parliament altogether, right? That's not the correct position. I think this is a serious matter and that should be dealt with. Unfortunately, even all that is not happening because it's a sad letdown of Parliament entirely.
And this is the sad letdown of the people. Look at the people there. They're all look at it. This is completely unacceptable. And you know, I think you'll see somewhere that the people take matters into their own hands. And here we go. Look. That's what I mean about the people's frustration, the people's power.
And this is not the first time. This is not going to be the last time. This is going to happen in future too. That is basically the reason.
They're getting a beating because the people are doing their frustration.
Correct.
Has manifested itself.
Yeah. And see that guy, I think he was trying to defend the strikers, right?
Yes. And
he had to run away.
And he's got beaten up.
Yeah.
And this is there's more of that to come.
Yeah, definitely.
Because the people's frustration is on the rise.
Yeah.
And it's on the up.
Unfortunately, it has to be the job of the people or the government to feel the pulses of the masses, right? It does not happen. See how they had wanted the salary revision and ultimately they had approved. We should thank the president for that matter. He had halted all that.
Yes.
My problem is, you know, it is unfortunate that they have not been able to consider the problems the masses go through, right? It is very important. In the first place, you have to serve the people, you have to serve the masses, deliver what is wanted by the people and not deliver the... Now, Prime Minister...
And not deliver it's very interesting what you said.
Yeah, not deliver all that for the benefit of a selected few legislators. Right? That is what is basically happening. I remember the Prime Minister some time ago said that his salary is even lower than his own wife. but it has no relevance to the issue.
Oh,
it
come
is
on.
so very unfortunate.
Is sometimes he just uses nice, legally correct terminology, but it doesn't mean a thing.
It doesn't
because
mean
I'd like to ask the Prime Minister whether he pays for his own gas canisters for cooking. Do they cook at home? I don't know. Does he know how much a coconut costs? Does he know the cost of a kilo of any vegetable? Murunga, let's take it, shall we? Beans. Do you know the price? No, really, do you know the price, Mr. Prime Minister? Because he lives in a totally different world, in a world completely separated from reality. And they do that, Lacille, and they think they can get away. Do you think that they'll get away when the polls come along?
I think the people might definitely think it over because they have already proved a point, right, that they are not satisfied with the present government. There's nothing to worry about.
But are we going to end up with another bunch of
No. I think we are working very hard towards building up another, a force where they should come and definitely deliver. We want the country in safe hands. That is, for that matter, we are really committed, like what somebody had raised about this election during the last local governments, right?
Yes.
Now, there's an election due, presidential, parliamentary. I think we got to get ready. Right thinking, saner people must come together. Basically, do it for the benefit of the people. If you don't do that in 2020, I think we are asking for greater trouble. And
in the meantime, between now and the next election, do you think this due process, the departure from due process, the conflicts of interest, do you think it will increase or do you think it will go down?
My biggest worry is this. The present set of politicos in the current parliament, they are only bent on winning elections, right? Actually, you don't find members of parliament or the leadership concerned, say, taking the country forward, and hence I do not think anything better than what is happening right now. The picture is gloomy unless you change the whole picture.
So the outlook is gloomy?
Yes.
A little bit like today's weather?
Yeah.
Just today?
Yeah.
But there is a possibility?
There is a possibility. People, however much they say, they say all kinds of things about the masses, right? I have a feeling the masses are with their eyes wide open and ears completely.
So they are all a collective antenna.
Yes.
It's a collective satellite.
Yes. I believe things...
They're monitoring.
They are monitoring, and probably they'll take the right decision at the proper time.
And people like Newsfirst?
Newsfirst, yes. I have always...
Where do we fit in?
I have always, praised the kind of services
we don't want praise, but what do you think we do?
No, basically, if not for all these corrupt issues, I must tell you, when we sent a notice, when we were doing the investigations, we sent a notice to all the institutions, right, to give publicity to the
press effect.
About the press effect and the terms of reference, right? You all gave us free publicity, and that's how probably it went throughout the island. The message was sent across, and within a very short period, we got the petitions, say.
Yes. Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, so naturally, I know you are for the cause we always appear for.
Well, thank you. Already, there are people who are saying whether they can join your movement.
Definitely,
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, if you contact
I don't want to mention any name, any particular party, but please come forward because we are committed to make this change. Unless you join us, there will be no future for this country. Trust me, I will not let you down. We will not let you down. We will not tell you lies, because I myself, being a very good Buddhist, I feel for what I am doing. I know to tell you, if I do anything wrong, karma will take it over, so I don't want to do anything. I love this country, and that is why I'm here for this country. We will certainly do that. Let's join hands together. Please be together, be in touch. I think probably they should be able to call here and get my number.
Well, there you heard it from Lacille de silva. You want to join this movement to get to better our country, to better yourselves, and to stop all these sort of strikes and complete rubbish that's going on, the inconvenience.
we have to change the process. Eventually, the people must be the winners, right?
Eventually, the people must be the winners. That's a lovely note, way to end the program. But I'd like to have you, one more question, last question, extension of 1 minute, please. Are you going to strike in front of the President's office, or are you going to strike in front of the Prime Minister's office, or are you going to strike in front of both these offices?
Actually, I am prepared to strike in front of both these offices, because both these have to take the responsibility for the present situation. I have no excuse for both of them, because unfortunately, President himself knows what we did, right? Actually, if he wants, even with regard to the second bond issue, right? If he could have taken a firm decision, this is what is expected of him, he should do that. Even at this stage, if he could do that, I believe he can definitely clear his name. So both are responsible.
Lacille de silva, you touched upon bond scam 2. We will bring you, the public, more information on bond scam 2. After all, we did bond scam 1, and we met because our paths crossed. Lacille de silva, it's been an amazingly wonderful morning having you on.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you too.
Deeply obliged, and thank you.
My pleasure too.
And that's the way it was, folks, on Newsline this morning, Thursday, the 9th of August 2018. Take care. God bless.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.